Howdy there, folks. It's Hunter, and in today's video, we're going to be talking about how to choose the right weapon for you in the Crucible. And more specifically, how do they feel? What does the weapon feel? And that's what we're going to be basing this choice off of. And because I think it's the most important factor for choosing the right weapon in the Crucible, not necessarily whether or not they're meta. Now, I've got a few weapons here just to show you side by side. We're going to start off here with Multi-Mach, which is considered by many to be the best or one of the best submachine guns in Crucible. Now, when I use Multi-Mach, and by the way, I'm in the Enclave here, I recommend you do this. Just go chill in the Enclave. I like to stand to this light, and I like to look at these three specific targets. So start off kind of close. And I'm not super great at controlling the recoil on this. I don't really main SMGs a lot, but when I do have a few that I do like. And Multi-Mach really isn't it. Something about it to me just doesn't feel super great. And we're going to start this off by kind of talking about, and you know, this long range one for something like an SMG, maybe not the best one to aim for. Usually for something a little closer range, I like to go for this dot right here. But what I want to bring up, when you're using these weapons, and when you're comparing them side by side, because this is Multi-Mach, but Submission here is my favorite lightweight SMG because of the way that it feels. I love the reticle. I just love everything about it. And something about this SMG just clicks better. And so when you're looking at these targets here and you're trying to hit them, don't necessarily just focus on how many shots you're actually landing on these targets, because that's not necessarily the most important thing. Focus on how it feels. And when I say how it feels, the shape of the reticle, the way that the recoil is, like how does the recoil feel to you? And you know, stats can make up a good bit on that as well. Like stability is the most important thing for something like an SMG or sidearm to me. Range really not as much, unless you're trying to exclusively main weapons like that, then I suppose you want a little bit more range. But all that aside, we're not here to talk about stats. We're here to talk about the feel. So again, it's almost something that's hard to explain. Yes, the shape of the reticle is part of it. How the weapon actually feels when you're firing it. Like, does it feel good? And just, do you feel like you're landing more shots with it? And it can be kind of hard to gauge right off the bat. To me, there's something about it. I mean, even though Multi-Mach, in theory, has much better sights because they're more open, it just doesn't feel great to me. Like, something about it, I don't know if it's the recoil pattern, I can't really explain what it is. But compared to Submission, it just doesn't feel as good. And so, if we take, for instance, another weapon here, we're going to use Drang now. When I'm using Drang, something about the recoil pattern on Drang just completely throws me off. And I really, really like Drang, and Drang is a really good sidearm. And now, granted, I mostly just like it because I love the quick draw Vorpal combo, because it's really good to pull it out and just use against supers. I just feel like I don't land my shots as much with Drang. I feel like I have a harder time tracking with it, and something about the way that it is, and this has 95 stability on it, by the way, so even cranking it out as much as I could, which making the stability go higher did make the gun feel a lot better, it still just doesn't feel good as a different weapon for me, which is Brigand's Law. Now, granted, I understand Brigand's Law is an entirely different archetype. The other two that we compared, the two SMGs, were both at least in the same archetype. So keep that in mind, too. It doesn't also have to be the same archetype. You don't have to compare things that are the same archetype. Just pick a bunch. Let's say you're going for a sidearm and you don't know which one to use. Pick a bunch of sidearms that you think you'll like and just use them. Start out in here and see if you can immediately narrow it down. See if you can immediately go, okay, that feels like crap. I don't like that one. And eliminate that. Then take them into the Crucible and just kind of try them, you know, give them 2 or 3 games at a time each. Try them back to back and see which one feels better to you. And that's really all this video is about. That's pretty much the whole point of it. It's all about just trying to figure out what weapon feels best for you. It doesn't necessarily have to be something that's meta. I truly believe that if you pick something that you're more comfortable with, you're going to have a lot more fun with it. You're going to like the weapon better, and it's going to click with you better. You're going to find that you're landing more shots, and you don't necessarily have to worry about, okay, well, this thing doesn't have stat X, Y, and Z. It's not a bow. You know, granted, you know, something like bows, yeah, you almost have to have perfect stats on them to make them work. Not the case with most other primaries. And obviously, I'm an avid bow main, but I wanted to talk about all primaries here, not just bows. In fact, I'm not focusing on bows for that very reason. Bows are an entire different thing. However, I would say weapon feel is still important. Like, say, for instance, I really like Under Your Skin. And because of the similar reticle on Vengeful Whisper, I really, really like Vengeful. And I've been really jiving with it, and it feels great. But something like Strident Whistle, I'm just not really a big fan of it. Pre-Asti, nah, I don't really like that one either. It's just something about the weapon feel. Even though stat-wise, they could all be pretty much identical. And same with something here like Fatebringer. Fatebringer may not exactly be the most popular hand cannon anymore, but it feels great to me, and it's literally all in just the recoil, because look here, when I'm shooting it, that red dot never goes away. And not all hand cannons have that. There's a very, very, very select few hand cannons that always keep that red dot. And that is such a big thing to me, because some of the others I just find more jarring. Now, I'm just kind of picky. Other people, that doesn't hurt them at all. They can use whatever hand cannon and do super well with it. And that's fine. But for me, I just like it when I can always see the red dot. And that's all that it boils down to. It's just personal preference. So whatever your reasoning is, whatever tiny, minute detail about the gun, maybe you just really like the look of the gun. Maybe the sights are just gorgeous to you. That's fine. That's all it takes. You want to find that comfort zone. And that's the most important thing about this. And that's the final point that I want to get to, is the comfort of the weapon. If the weapon feels good to you, if the weapon feel is what you like, then your comfort level is going to be a heck of a lot higher with the gun, and that's going to improve your consistency. So weapon feel translates to more weapon comfort, which is going to translate to more consistency overall. And given time, you're going to do a heck of a lot better with them. I hope you guys found this useful. Just something I've kind of thought about for a while. Hopefully it'll give you some insight into the mind of somebody that plays entirely too much Destiny. And I hope this is a really helpful tip for y'all. Thanks for watching, y'all, and I hope you have a wonderful evening.